The Truth About Little Nightmares Explained. The Little Nightmares series has been quite successful, and after playing through the games, I decided to put together a sort of timeline for how the events unfold across the entire franchise. Keep in mind, not all of this is official canon. A lot of it is just my own attempt to make sense of things, especially when it comes to what I think happens after the games. So just remember that. Let's dive in. Six, the main protagonist, after leaping from a structure called the Nest, along with another girl, who unfortunately meets her end at the Pretender's hands, takes the girl's yellow raincoat as a keepsake and wears it herself. This moment takes place in the prequel title, Very Little Nightmares. Caution, you beautiful people. Make sure to follow my gaming account at Spyro0MC. I drop funny content there every day. All right, enjoy the rest of my video. Now here is where speculation starts to play a role. There's been some debate about this, but I, along with many others, believe that Little Nightmares 2 actually occurs before the first Little Nightmares in the timeline, happening right after the conclusion of Very Little Nightmares. After surviving her escape from the Nest, Six sets off on a raft and eventually drifts ashore somewhere on the mainland, likely a forested wilderness. There, she's captured by the Hunter, who imprisons her in a room inside his cabin, leaving her only a music box to occupy herself with. More about this box later. She remains trapped there for at least a month. At this point, Mono enters the story, a boy wearing a paper bag over his head. He awakens from a dream of a mysterious door with an eye symbol, then travels through the wilderness where he discovers Six imprisoned. Mono frees her, and together they manage to outwit the Hunter, ultimately killing him with his own shotgun. Using a makeshift raft crafted from a door, Six and Mono float into the Pale City. While there, Mono encounters numerous televisions that he tries to step into in hopes of reaching the door from his dream, though Six always pulls him back out. Once inside the city, the two must pass through a sprawling, maze-like school ruled by the cruel teacher. They manage to survive her pursuit, and Six reclaims her iconic yellow raincoat. This suggests that she lost her original one at some point, and her reclaiming another symbolizes her acceptance of herself and her past. Afterward, they enter a hospital populated by grotesque patients and a monstrous spider-like doctor who can optionally be killed by burning him alive. Eventually, they arrive in the core of the Pale City, inhabited by the viewers, citizens whose faces have been warped after long exposure to broadcasts transmitted by the Thin Man from the signal tower. In time, Mono finds a working television that actually leads him to the door. Upon opening it, he is confronted by the Thin Man. Six pulls Mono back, but the Thin Man pursues them. Mono manages to escape his grasp, but Six is captured. By following ghostly visions of Six through the city's TVS, Mono is guided toward the signal tower. Discovering that he has powers resembling those of the Thin Man, Mono eventually defeats him by disintegrating him. Mono then uses those powers to drag the signal tower closer to himself and enters it. Inside, he reunites with Six, though she has transformed into a twisted, monstrous version of herself. At first, she is not openly aggressive, but once Mono damages her music box, a possession she guards obsessively, likely because it had been her only comfort during captivity, she turns hostile. When Mono first found her in the Hunter's cabin, she'd been playing with this very music box. Later, it becomes clear that the box has a deeper significance. It suggests that the Thin Man's influence had already begun to seep into Six's mind, corrupting her into a reality-bending creature, much like Roger the janitor in the original Little Nightmares. So when the music box is destroyed, the tower collapses, exposing fleshy masses filled with eyes. As Mono and Six flee, they reach a gap. Six makes the leap, catches Mono, but ultimately lets go, allowing him to fall as she escapes through a TV. Mono, accepting his fate, sits on a chair. As time passes, he grows older, taller, and thinner until he becomes the Thin Man himself, heavily implying that Mono is the Thin Man, stuck in a perpetual time loop. In a hidden cutscene, Six is shown with a shadow version of herself, a remnant of her ordeal. The shadow notices a pamphlet for the Maw, and Six's stomach growls. This confirms that Little Nightmares 2 actually takes place before the first Little Nightmares. So what's the conclusion? Little Nightmares 2 appears to exist between Very Little Nightmares and the original Little Nightmares. From what I can gather and from what has been suggested, Little Nightmares 2 functions as both a prequel and a sequel, a time loop existing both before and after the first game. I think this because at the end of the first game, Six seems to be rescued and possibly ends up at the Pale City, and because the Thin Man's existence is confirmed within the time frame of the first game, as seen in the DLC Easter egg. Some characters from Little Nightmares 2 also appear as portraits on the Maw. In addition, it seems the Thin Man can manipulate time, shown through his repeated attempts to reach his younger self, Mono. So, logically, the cycle is the result of a bootstrap paradox born out of betrayal and fear. It's also possible that Six deliberately let Mono fall in order to prevent him from becoming the Thin Man, though this is not clear. Now on to the events of the first Little Nightmares. After leaving Mono, the Thin Man, behind, Six notices the pamphlet for the Maw and is likely taken aboard by the mysterious ferryman. This is revealed in the comics. The Maw is essentially a floating entertainment resort, catering to guests who abandon their homeland to indulge their insatiable greed and gluttony. It is maintained by Roger the janitor, the man with unnaturally long arms who left the outside world in search of a better life. The grotesque twin chefs who prepare food, not only from captured children, but primarily from the flesh of overfed guests who are slaughtered once they've grown fat. And the lady whose magic sustains the Maw's engines and who appears to be its ruler. Oddly enough, within the Little Nightmares universe, the Maw is considered a place of order. Throughout Little Nightmares, Six solves puzzles and eventually confronts the lady. Along the way, she experiences repeated hunger pangs, marked by eerie music, where she must consume food. These hunger episodes echo the end of Little Nightmares 2, suggesting that this unnatural hunger might be a lingering effect of her encounter with the Thin Man and the paradox of time. Also, Six's shadowy double from Little Nightmares 2's secret ending reappears here. After overcoming several challenges, Six battles the lady. Using light reflected from a mirror, she weakens her. Then, struck by another wave of hunger, Six crawls toward her and bites into her neck, killing her and absorbing her powers. For those who find the ending confusing, the explanation is this: Six acquires the memories and abilities of those she consumes. That's how she instinctively knows how to defeat the geisha. Since the gnome she ate in Chapter 4 had witnessed the method of her downfall, this is also why she inherits the lady's powers after devouring her. Finally, when she exits the Maw, Six awaits rescue. Once she is saved, she begins to fade and requires Mono's help, the same Mono from Little Nightmares 2. And with this, the cycle starts over again.